Welcome to Two Guys and Make Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Thompson. We're here today from an undisclosed location in upstate New York, and we want to go through with less than 5 days left to this election. Hard to believe that we've gotten here and we've made it so far. We're all still living. The world hasn't come to an end, but I think it's close. I think no matter who wins, there's going to be people upset, and who the hell knows if LA can destroy a city because the Dodgers won the World Series, then who knows what's going to happen with the Democrats if Kamala Harris wins or if Kamala Harris loses. I think the world's going to be a disaster either way. So I wanted to take a moment and bring up Kamala Harris's speech at the Ellipse and kind of narrate it through with you guys. I have not watched it. I have a very, very hard time listening to that woman. Just her voice, I don't know. The fact that she pretty much insults me every time she speaks and insults every single Republican every time she speaks. You know, it's one thing I have to say before we move on to her cackling and everything else. It's one thing to call your political rivals or political detractors or people you've dealt with names. It's another thing to call a whole entire voting block something else. You know, when I'm called a fascist and a Hitler and a basket of deplorables, all the name calling that has happened from the Democrat left towards any and all Republicans, I think it comes to a point where you just get sick and tired of it, and you just don't want to listen to it anymore. But with that being said, so that you guys know where I'm coming from and where my moral compass is with this woman, well, that's where we're at. So let's give her a listen and see what she thinks and what she has to say. Don't be surprised if I lose my mind and start screaming because I have a hard time with her. All right, so with that said and done, let's go.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy lives. Thank you, everyone. So listen, 1 week from today, you will have the chance to make a decision that directly impacts your life, the life of your family,
a precursor
and
to
the
what's going to
future
happen?
of this country we love.
Well, the reason why I took a sip of my Sprite, because that was lie number one when she said the country that we love. She loves it so much that she allows unfettered illegal immigration and wants to defund police and wants to lock patriots and people in the military up. Yeah, you really love your country. Okay, sorry. I just wanted to bring that up. Lie number one.
And it will probably be the most important vote you ever cast. And this election is more than just a choice between two parties and two different candidates. It is a choice about whether we have a country rooted in freedom for every American or ruled by chaos and division.
Well, I agree with that because Donald Trump didn't send the Justice Department after his candidates. The Donald Trump administration didn't lock up Hillary Clinton after she was very nasty to him. Donald Trump didn't try to silence free speech during COVID. Donald Trump didn't want to gaslight anybody who spoke against the administration. So you're right. It is between freedom-loving government and the Kamala Harris fascist government. Oh. Okay.
you watching have probably already cast your ballots.
Thank God.
But I know many others are still considering who to vote for.
Yeah, because we don't know who the hell she is. She doesn't tell us. There's not one of those people cheering like a bunch of lemmings in that crowd that knows why she voted for her, why they voted for her. All they know is that she's not Donald Trump.
Or whether you'll vote at all. So tonight, I will speak to everyone about the choice and the stakes in this election. Look, we know who Donald Trump is.
That's right. We do know who Donald Trump is because he's said it many, many times. He has 4 years to show what he's done. And he also has interview after interview after interview explaining his policies and how he's going to do things. Whether you like it or not, you know what you get with Donald Trump.
He is the person who stood at this very spot nearly 4 years ago and sent an armed mob.
Lie number 2. Donald Trump did not send an armed mob anywhere.
To the United States Capitol to overturn the will of the people in a free and fair election.
2 more lies. It was not a free and fair election. I still stand by my thought that the election was stolen, so that's a number 3. And definitely not the free will of the people, because if that was the case, there were enough irregularities in the voting that we could have held off the vote count. But that's okay. So we're now up to 4 lies, and we are exactly a little less than 2 minutes into her speech. The liar in chief, VP.
An election that he knew he lost. Americans died as a result of that attack.
I don't know of any American that died that wasn't shot by the Capitol Police, and they were unarmed. So a Capitol Police officer shot an unarmed Air Force veteran. So it's the government shooting the citizens, just to be clear, because the media won't tell you this, but you can Google it and look it up yourself. Yeah, okay.
140 law enforcement officers were injured because of that attack. And while Donald Trump sat in the White House watching as the violence unfolded on television, he was told by his staff that the mob wanted to kill his own vice president. And Donald Trump responded with 2 words: so what?
Which has been uncorroborated, by the way. So we'll put that as a lie number 5. Okay, 5. 5 lies. And we're not even 3 minutes into the speech. Whew.
America, that's who Donald Trump is. And that's who is asking you to give him another 4 years in the Oval Office. Not to focus on your problems, but to focus on his. And Donald Trump has told us his priorities for a second term. He has an enemies list of people he intends to prosecute. He says that one of his highest priorities is to set free the violent extremists who insulted those law enforcement officers on January 6th.
Well, calling them violent extremists is a far, far, far from the truth. So we'll knock that as another lie, because Kamala Harris had a GoFundMe account during the Summer of Love 2020 to help pay bail for BLM rioters that beat up police and burnt municipal buildings down and destroyed private property. So really, Kamala, really? Unreal.
Donald Trump intends to use the United States military against American citizens.
Another huge ass lie. A huge lie. Yesterday I did the interview between Jake Tapper and J.D. Vance. And this was gone over back and forth. And J.D. Vance, who, whether you like him or not, this is a very smart man. And he said to Jake Tapper, you pull up. I'll give you the time right now. I'll give you my time. Pull it up. Show me where he said that. And of course, there's no evidence of him ever saying that he was going to use the military against U.S. citizens. But you know who did, or who wants to? The Harris and Biden administration just set a policy into place to the Department of Defense allowing just that, for the military to be used against citizens. And if you allow me one quick second, I will actually look it up and tell you what it is. Just do your own research. I'm a big one on doing your own research, because don't always trust what I say. But look up Directive 5240-01, the DOD directive from the Biden administration. Again, it is the DOD Directive 5240-01, which gives the government the Department of Defense the authority to use its intelligence and the ability to fire onto U.S. citizens, which is now currently illegal. The only time you can use a military, one, stateside, is through the National Guard, and it has to be the state's National Guard of the state where the conflict would be, which then the governor gives that choice. Never in our history have we allowed federal forces, because how it works is you have National Guard and the U.S. Army. National Guard is directed by the governor. Federal is directed by the federal government. So, for example, your militias would be your National Guards. Your federal government is your federal army. So now the federal government, the Biden and Harris administration, gave the Department of Defense the ability to go after American citizens in any state they want, and with a order to kill directive. And like I said, look it up yourself, guys. Don't believe me. I'm a firm one, and do your homework. It is the Department of Defense Directive 5240-01. Check it out. But you know what? We'll let Harris continue her lies, because that's all she does. She has no policies.
Who simply disagree with him.
Lies.
People he calls, quote, the enemy from within.
The enemy from within is the dark state that controls the government, the puppet masters. And that's exactly what he said from the get-go, hence the drain the swamp. He's just changed the terminology from drain the swamp to the enemy within. You know who the enemy from within is? The mass media that doesn't report the truth. The George Soroses of the world that controls the government, the dark web, those type of people, the ones that are destroying our country. That's the enemy from within. Probably somebody that Harris works for. But I'll retract that. Your Honor, I'll allow it to be retracted. So here we go.
America, this is not a candidate for president who is thinking about how to make your life better. This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power.
Donald Trump was in power for 4 years. I don't recall him being a dictator at all. At all. If anything, the Harris and Biden administration is the one that used executive powers unbelievably. Remember, it was the Biden-Harris government that went into Texas and removed the barriers that the Texas state put in to stop illegal immigration crossing the Rio Grande. The federal government under Biden and Harris was the one that became dictatorial, not the Trump government. And they want to lie about it. This is all projection, guys, all projection. But you know what? Again, open your eyes and just look. Look with clear eyes. These guys are telling you through projection exactly how they would be. Let's continue.
Donald Trump has spent a decade trying to keep the American people divided and afraid of each other.
Well, that's another lie. That would be the news media. But okay.
That is who he is. But America, I am here tonight to say that is not who we are. That is not who we are.
You're right, but that is who you are. It is 100% who you are. And the lemmings are cheering.
You see, what Donald Trump has never understood is that e pluribus unum, out of many, one, isn't just a phrase on a dollar bill.
It's funny how they're going to quote the phrase on the dollar bill that suits their need, but they want to remove "In God We Trust" off the dollar bill. Just saying.
It is a living truth about the heart of our nation. Our democracy doesn't require us to agree on everything. In fact, we like good arguments from time to time. Just think of your own family, right? It's not the American way to not have disagreements. We don't shy away from robust debate. In fact, we like a good debate, don't we? We like a good debate. And the fact that someone disagrees with us does not make them the enemy within.
Oh, funny how she's now kind of giving you an idea of who she thinks the enemy from within is. See? Projection. Projection.
They are family, neighbors, classmates, co-workers. They are fellow Americans. And as Americans, we rise and fall together. America, for too long, we have been consumed with too much division, chaos, and mutual distrust. And it can be easy then to forget a simple truth. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. It is time to stop pointing fingers. We have to stop pointing fingers and start locking arms. It is time to turn the page on the drama and the conflict, the fear and division. It is time for a new generation of leadership in America. And I am ready to offer that.
You know, it would be one thing if she actually believed all that stuff she says, because she is the most divisive person next to Barack Obama. You know, Barack Obama, if you guys don't remember, was the great divider in chief. Because prior to Barack Obama, race relations really wasn't a thing. He's the one who brought it back to the forefront, because that's how they could guarantee elections. This woman's no different. The Harris-Biden administration divided this country horribly by using lawfare, using the government as a wedge between people. Look how government is entangled into our schools, into our communities, using social issues as dividing as wedges between neighbors and families. She's a manipulative liar. And you guys have to look at that. You know, the biggest problem we have in schools today, one of the biggest problems, is the whole transgender thing. That somebody wants to be what they want to be, I really don't care. I don't care. But don't force me to accept it when it makes no sense. If you're a boy, you're a goddamn boy. You're not a boy physically, but a girl in your head. Sorry, not going to accept that. That you're a homosexual, hey, no problem. It is what it is. It is what it is. You're a lesbian, it is what it is. But what happens is these weird ideologies come out and the government wants to drive a wedge between people. And that's what that whole party is about, driving wedges. I know plenty of people that are in the LGBT community. Do I agree with them? Probably not. Do I invite them over for dinner? Absolutely. Do we talk politics? Sometimes. Do we agree? No. But it is what it is. Don't push your shit on me, and I'm going to accept what you do. The second you push your stuff onto me and force me to accept it is where a problem lies. Because this woman wants to push an agenda and force me to accept it, but does not reciprocate that her accepting my views. See, I have to accept hers and change me. And this is what this whole government does today. That's her whole party, her whole platform. It's projection. They're all blaming Trump, but Trump is trying to bring it back to normalcy where, no, do what you want, let others do what they want. I could be seeing it wrong, but that is my view. And God damn it, I'm entitled to it.
Leadership as the next president of the United States of America. Now look, let me say, I recognize this has not been a typical campaign.
No, you were selected, not elected.
Even though I've had the honor of serving as your vice president
Who
for the last
again?
4 years, I know.
You know, the kicker is before she was selected, not elected, they were actually thinking of throwing her off the VP ticket to get her to replace her with somebody else. So these idiots cheering for her, they don't even know who they're cheering for because they don't know who she is, other than she's not Donald Trump. This is what I don't understand. Come on, guys, vote for somebody, not against somebody. Tell me what you are. Tell me what your views are, not these grandiose, nothing, nonsensical, I come from a middle-class family deals. We need to know what your policies are, and you've given nothing. Nothing.
But I know that many of you are still getting to know who I am.
Jesus Christ.
Let me tell you, I am someone who has spent most of my career outside of Washington, D.C., so I know that not all the good ideas come from here. I am not afraid of tough fights.
So, she's somebody that did not come from Washington, D.C., but she was a senator. She was a California district attorney, the DA. She was involved in government her whole entire life. She's a government plant. That's all she knows is government. She's going to criticize Trump, who's never been in government, but use the fact that she wasn't in D.C. as a plus. See what I mean, guys? There's nothing. An empty pantsuit is what she is. I know that's going to piss people off. Just be open and see what things are. Listen. We all don't think Donald Trump is the best candidate. As a Republican conservative, I don't think Donald Trump is a great candidate because the media has framed him so badly that I don't know what he's like. But policy-wise, just what he has done, I was better off 6 years ago than I am today. 100%. My money went a lot further. I had more money in my pocket. My neighborhoods were cleaner and safer, and everything was better. And I knew what the president stood for. She wants my vote. I have no idea who she is, no idea what her policies are, but let's vote for her because she's not Donald Trump. This whole speech so far is Donald Trump, 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 Donald Trump. Come on, tell us what you're doing. Need I digress?
Fights against bad actors and powerful interests. Because for decades, as a prosecutor and a top law enforcement officer of our biggest state, I won fights against big banks that ripped off homeowners, against for-profit colleges that scammed veterans and students, against predators who abused women and children, and cartels that trafficked in guns, drugs, and human beings.
Why is an open border?
And I did this work because for as long as I can remember, I have always had an instinct to protect. There's something about people being treated unfairly.
I just have to say, the media today is bending over backwards saying how that Trump saying that he wants to be a protector of the family is insulting, and it just shows his misogyny. What is this? Yet the media says, oh, it was great. Oh my God, I think it's so awesome. You can't say if one candidate says it, it's bad, and if another candidate says it, it's good, and show your objectivity. It's being a hypocrite. It's not being truthful. If it's bad for one, it's bad for the other. If it's good for one, it's good for the other. Come on. Ugh. I'm sorry. I have a hard time listening to her. I just want to punch myself in the face.
Or overlooked. That frankly just gets to me. I don't like it.
It gets to me too. I don't like you either. But, I mean,
it's what my mother instilled in me.
From your middle class family?
A drive to hold accountable those who use their wealth or power to take advantage of other people.
Oh, like Joe Biden did?
The drive to protect hardworking Americans who aren't always seen or heard and deserve a voice. And I will tell you that is the kind of president I will be.
Really? Because you haven't told us how. Haven't given us one policy.
And look, I'll be honest with you, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, but here's what I promise you.
You're just a knucklehead, right?
I will always listen to you, even if you don't vote for me.
Yeah.
I will always tell you the truth, even
because her running mate called me a fascist. She said the rally that Donald Trump had and all of his supporters was a Nazi rally. And Hillary Clinton's still out there calling us a bunch of deplorables. And Joe Biden, during this speech, came out and called Republicans garbage. She's a liar. Total bald-faced liar. I'm going to chalk that up as another one. Yeah. Actually, I should chalk that up as 6 because it's such a big one.
If it is difficult to hear, I will work every day to build consensus and reach compromise to get things done.
Have you done that the last 4 years?
If you give me the chance to fight on your behalf, there is nothing in the world that will stand in my way.
Wasn't she the vice president for the last 4 years? Well, why didn't you do it? Why didn't you do what you're saying you were going to do? This is the problem, folks. She's been in power for the last 4 years. If things are so bad, why the hell didn't you fix them while you were in power? No, can't do that. That makes no sense. Listen, guys, it's not like she's running as a new candidate. Like, let's say, for example, Ben Shapiro. Or I don't know. I know somebody who nobody knows, an unknown candidate won the primary you know, I'm so pissed off with trying to have a mind block on names. Pete Buttigieg up there, let's say, for example, who hasn't been the last person in the room all the time and all the decision making, who Biden and her both tout that she was. So why are these decisions that she says she'll work on and implement the first day in office, why hasn't these things been done? You know why? Because all of these policies are her policies that are causing us problems today. And they're going to continue, guys. Nothing's going to change. We're going to have unfettered immigration, wars all over the place because the Democrats have become the war party. That's why they're losing people. And why do you think the Republicans, like the Cheneys of the world, are walking away from the Republican Party? Because the Republican Party is walking away from foreign wars. Republicans don't want foreign wars anymore. It's like the parties have flopped. That's exactly what Robert Kennedy says, RFK Jr. That the Democrats have become the war party and the Republicans have become the peace party. She's no better. They don't want an end to the wars in the Middle East because their corporate warmongers pay their salaries. Ridiculous. That's why they don't like Trump, because Trump doesn't want wars. Dick Cheney, the biggest warmonger we have. John Bolton, the biggest warmonger we have. All dislike Donald Trump. Why? Because Donald Trump doesn't want new wars. Simple as that, yet they're all petitioning for Kamala. Lion Kamala. Because that's what she does. She's not telling you guys, including me, the truth on who she is. Because if she did, you wouldn't vote for her. That's why when she was primarying the first time around, she didn't get one single vote.
So look, in less than 90 days, either Donald Trump or I will be in the Oval Office. Okay?
You're there now, dummy. Hello? 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 Is something in there?
On day one, if elected, Donald Trump would walk into that office with an enemies list. When elected, I will walk in with a to-do list.
Why don't you have a to-do list now? Again, she's been there for 4 years. God, I want it. And nobody sees this. What the frig, guys? Gotta see where this fool is coming from.
Full of priorities of what I will get done for the American people. And I will work with everyone, Democrats, Republicans, and independents, to help Americans who are working hard and still struggling to get ahead. I have been honored to serve as Joe Biden's vice president.
So you're in the White House, and you're the vice president. So why the frig do you have a to-do list to do first thing when you get there? So are you a do-nothing vice president? So you were never the last person in the room? Which one is it? You can't have both. You can't say, I'm going to do all this stuff day one because I could never do it before, or I was very successful as a VP, and this is what I got done. Which one is it? I'm so confused. I don't get it. Guys, come on. Open your eyes. This is nuts.
But I will bring my own experiences and ideas to the Oval Office. My presidency will be different because the challenges we face are different.
She's there.
Our top priority as a nation 4 years ago was...
What does it say on the seal of that podium? What does it say? Vice President of the United States. So she's there now. Why is it her first priority on day? She's there. I can't. I need my pills. I swear to God, I need my pills. Why did I want to do this today?
Was to end the pandemic and rescue the economy. Now, our biggest challenge is to lower costs that were rising even before the pandemic and that are still too high. I get it. I still remember our mother sitting at that yellow Formica table, late at night, cup of tea in hand, a pile of bills in front of her, trying to make it all work. And I've heard from so many of you who are facing even greater financial pressures. Donald Trump's answer to you is the same as it was the last time. Another $1 trillion in tax cuts for billionaires and big corporations.
Oh, that's another big lie.
And this time,
Donald Trump had the largest middle-class tax cut in U.S. history. Go to us.gov, look up in his budgets, and you can Google that. He had the largest middle tax cut in U.S. history, short of Ronald Reagan's. So quit your goddamn lying. I'm so sick of it.
he will pay for it with a 20% national sales tax on everything you buy that is imported.
Okay.
Think about it.
Okay.
Clothes, food, toys, cell phones.
What's wrong with forcing the foreign companies to build those here? Again, if I'm making $50 an hour working at a factory, what do I care if my teddy bear is $1 more than I can pay now? I got a good job. See, this is what these people don't want to tell you. Things aren't static. And furthermore, a sales tax is not punitive because you can choose not to buy that. An income tax is 100% punitive because I need to work. And the way we have a tax in our system, income tax in our country, it's progressive. The more money you make, the higher percentage you pay. People don't want to tell you that, but just go to the library and grab any 1040 EZ worksheet, and you can see your income levels. It'll say, 4,000 to 10,000. This is what you take, and it goes up, up 20,000, 50,000. This 50,000, 40 to 70,000. That, and you can see the more money you make, the higher that percentage becomes. It's a progressive tax scale. And excuse me, Jesus. And that's the reason, goddamn Sprite. That's the reason why I have an issue with income tax, because it penalizes the people who want to work hard and work lots of hours. That's why I'm all in favor for the tax, not taxing the overtime. But this is what this lady doesn't understand. A sales tax is optional because I can choose not to buy that. And I see nothing wrong with it because it'll encourage manufacturing and businesses to come back to the United States. You have to understand, the policy of the Democratic Party right now is whatever they can do to make it sound really nice, to make you more dependent on the government. That's what they want. They don't want you to be successful because the more successful you are, the less you need government. Then they become obsolete.
A Trump sales tax that would cost the average family nearly $4,000 more a year. And on top
Biden's policies of costing more than $4,000 in my mortgage.
of that, you will pay even more if Donald Trump finally gets his way and repeals the Affordable Care Act.
You never said that. Another lie.
Which would throw millions of Americans off
It's a
their
lie.
health insurance
Total
and
lie.
take us back to when insurance companies had the power to deny.
Donald Trump came out and said, I don't like the Affordable Care Act because it costs government too much money. There's no competition in it. And he said he would never replace it until we have come up with something better. That's why when he was president, he never did anything with it, because he never came up with something better. They came up with conceptual plans, but could never get it finalized because of the way Congress was at the time. So he's the one that is trying to make something that works, not just, like Nancy Pelosi with the Affordable Care Act. We got to pass the bill before we know what's in it. That's exactly what they said about the Affordable Care Act. We need to pass it before we know what's in it. And what happened in the Affordable Care Act, you can look at charts, Google them if you want. Cost of medical premiums has gone up 2 and 3 and 4-fold since the ACA came out. And that's a fact.
People with pre-existing conditions. Well, we are not.
Here's another thing I have with pre-existing conditions. That pre-existing condition issue, it's not a black and white issue, see? But nobody likes to explain it. You're 24 years old. Right? You choose, well, I don't want to buy health insurance. I'm healthy. I don't need it. Right? I don't need it. All of a sudden, something happens, and you're diagnosed with something. Well, you didn't want to buy insurance. Now you have cancer. Heaven forbid. Knock on wood, nothing ever happens to anybody I know. So now you go to buy insurance. Well, you didn't want insurance before, but now that you need insurance, and now that the insurance company's got to pay out millions of dollars, you want to have cheap, affordable insurance. That's not how that works. See, how insurance works is they take money from here, 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 and they pay for this, this, and this. Because the many pay premium to hopefully fix the few. Because it's spreading the liability. That's how it works. So the greater the pool of payers you need to cover the liability of people who need the insurance. But if you've never paid into the system, that's like saying, well, I never put any money into retirement because I didn't want to, but it's time for me to retire. Well, I want money now, but you didn't put in anything. Yeah, but that's not fair. That was your choice. You chose not to get the insurance. Now something's wrong with you, a pre-existing condition. Now you want the insurance company to be forced to pay for you. Is it fair? It's not fair. You got sick. You're right. But nobody said life was fair. That's like your house catching fire. You didn't want to have homeowners insurance, but once your house caught fire, you want to find an insurance company to pay for your house. That's not how it works. Why is it you understand it when it comes to your house, but not your insurance for health? Well, it's black and white, guys. Black and white. But the Democrats don't want to see it that way. Part of the one thing with the ACA that I did agree with, because it forced people, no matter what age, you had to get health insurance. Again, to spread the liability out to more people. But that got taken out by Republicans. Unfortunately, this is where sometimes, you don't agree all the time with your party. I disagree with the ACA. But it got passed, and that's the one thing that should have stayed is, if we're going to pass ACA, whether you're 19 years old or 100 years old, you have to buy health insurance. Simple as that, so that the liability is spread out through more people. But nobody wants to explain anybody that stuff. They just want to use it as a political tool every election.
Not going back. We are not going back. not going back. Because we also know Donald Trump would deliver tax cuts to his billionaire donors. I will deliver tax cuts to working people and the middle class.
Really, you haven't given us that at all as a policy.
I will make sure you have a chance not just to get by, but to get ahead.
How? How? You've never told us anything.
I believe in honoring the dignity of work.
That's not true.
I will enact the first ever federal ban on price gouging on
No
groceries.
such thing. No such thing. Come on, every grocer's come out and
Cap
said that's...
the price of insulin and limit out-of-pocket prescription costs for all Americans. I will fight to make sure that hardworking Americans can actually afford a place to live. I'll never forget how our mothers saved up and how
Okay. So she wants to do this policy of giving $25,000 first-time home buyers. See, she frames it as a first-time home buyer. Go look at her policy. This is the one that she's actually put out there. Has retracted it, but it's still out there. It's a $10,000 to $25,000 grant. That's a grant or tax credit or whatever it is. And it's only for first generational home buyers. See, that's the caveat they put in there. It's not first time home buyer. They like to frame it that way, but it's first generation home buyer. And what does that actually mean? It means if my son wanted to buy a house under Kamala Harris's policy, he's not qualified. You know why? Because I have a house. Oh, you're shocked, aren't you? That's the law. That's her policy. So if your daughter or your son or anybody you know wants to buy a house and qualify for Mamala's benefit, the $25,000 credit, if their parents owned a home, you don't qualify. The only way you can qualify is if your parents never owned a home. Who is that pandering to? A very divisive wedge. Yet again, this is a something that's carved out to illegals and migrants that come into this country because they have no previous homes, or people in the inner city who have always lived in apartments. This has nothing to do with middle class at all. She's a liar, guys. Look this stuff up. Don't believe me. Please, please don't believe me. Look it up. It's very easy. If a dumb scrap guy can figure it out and look it up, you guys are a lot smarter than me. Look that stuff up. You'll see it.
Excited she was when she could finally afford to buy our first home. I remember how excited she was. And I know that
under her policy, Kamala Harris would not be able to buy a house because her mother owned a home. See? See how stupid that is?
owning a home is not only a measure of financial security, it's about the pride of your hard work.
If it's financial security, shouldn't you have to work to buy that house? Isn't that part of it? The house is the cornerstone of your family because it gives you, it's like the tether that keeps you going. I don't want to get up in the morning and go to work. I got my mortgage. Shit, I got to go to work. That's kind of what it is, guys. People don't want to lose their homes. So they push through, they power through, they work things out. It's kind of one of those things that's like a unifier for a family, the home. But if you don't have to work for it or earn it your own, it loses that je ne sais quoi. That makes it a cornerstone of your family, the home. People move in and out of apartments like crazy. They don't move in and out of homes like crazy. I mean, somebody who lives in an apartment might move out 3, 4, 5 times change apartments. How often does somebody move out of a house? Nowhere near as often. But let's throw federal money at it. Somebody else's money.
And as president, I will fight to help first-time home buyers with your down payment,
Yep.
take on the companies that are jacking up rents, and build millions of new homes.
So here's another thing. God, I could tear this goddamn speech apart. So during COVID, right, the government, in its infinite wisdom, said to people that were in apartments, hey, you don't have to pay for your rent. They can't evict you. So people didn't pay their rent. So the landlord was stuck with the mortgage payment still had to get paid on that building, or else they would lose the building. The upkeep on the building still had to be done, so there was still an expense to that building. And your taxes on the property still had to get paid though. And yet the government told the people living in it, nah, you don't have to pay for your mortgage, for your rent, excuse me. So how did government help anybody there? And now they're demonizing the landlords that for 2 years lost money because of government policies, that now the government, these landlords are saying, I got to recoup that money because my property taxes keep going up. The cost of maintenance keeps going up. The cost of insurance keeps going up. The cost of repairs keeps going up. Of course rent's going to go up. Come on. These people live in Never Land. When you don't own nothing and never had a job, you don't understand how that works. And this is the biggest problem. My favorite line out of everything. If you've never signed the front of a payroll check, you shouldn't have a say in how it's made. I hate to be that way because you don't know how hard it is to make payroll on a weekly basis with a business. You shouldn't enact policies that's going to affect businesses from making money.
For years, we have heard excuses about why America can't build enough housing. Enough with the excuses. I'm going to cut the red tape and work with the private sector and local governments to speed up building and get it done.
Has any of you talked to a local builder? Any of you? There's so much bullshit that you have to go through to build a house. That's why. You need an environmental impact study, a survey. You need a permit for a driveway. You have to go before the town board, zoning board, to make sure you can build what you want. Then they have to approve your plans. Then you have to find a contractor, a builder. You have to find the National Grid's got to take their time and put in the service. You have to have the water service come out, the sewer service come out. This is ungodly amounts of money. Most houses, there's probably a $10,000 upfront cost at the minimum before you even put a shovel in the ground to buy any materials. This is in engineering plans and environmental impact studies and permits and fees. She has no clue. No clue. You want to cut the red tape? Get rid of the EPA. You want to see how quickly things get built? Get rid of the goddamn EPA. Change some of your zoning rules. Do you know that now you have, there's codes on the size of windows, the amount of light that comes in, how much ventilation's in every room, the size shingles you have to use, the size, the thickness of sheetrock. You guys have the kind of breakers you need, the kind of outlets you need, the height of the windows, the height of the breakers, the height of the banister, the width of the banister. It is nuts, building codes. And this all adds to the cost of A, renovating a home, or 2, building a home. This stooge has no idea because she's never built nothing. She's going to cut the red tape. Yeah, you are the red tape. You need to be cut right out of here. See you later.
And the cost of housing isn't the only financial pressure on middle-class families. I have met so many young people who have a natural desire to parent their children well, but not always the resources to do it.
Then you shouldn't have.
So I'll fight for a child tax credit to save them some money, which will also lift American children out of poverty.
Since the 1960s, we've been fighting the war on poverty. The only thing government creates is more poverty. And if you guys can't see that, it's a loser. Anyways.
I'll work to lower the cost of childcare, which is out of reach for too many working families today.
Well, how about lowering the cost of insurance on businesses that take care of children? How about tort reform that stops if a mistake is made and somebody gets hurt? There's not million-dollar lawsuits. The reason why childcare is unaffordable is because of all the red tape, the cost of insurance. You need all these classes, all these classes and licensing and fees. You need all these regulations inside these buildings. These are all huge costs. Why do you think it costs $400 a week for a child? Because that's what it costs to run a business like that. So we just throw more government money at it? I don't know. It's all about giving money.
And for too many people in the sandwich generation who are raising young children and taking care of a parent, juggling all of it is extremely difficult. You know, I took care of my mother when she got sick, cooking food that she had a taste for, finding clothes that would not irritate her skin. And understand, as I do, that caregiving is about dignity. It is about dignity. And currently, if you need home care and you don't have some money to hire someone, you and your family need to deplete your savings to qualify for help. That's just not right. So we're going to change the approach and allow Medicare to cover the cost of home care so seniors can get the help and care they need in their own homes.
Okay, that I can agree with.
Now, Donald Trump has a different approach. He tried to cut Medicare and Social Security every year he was president.
Not true.
Look, I believe that when people have worked hard their entire life, they deserve to retire with the benefits they have earned. And I believe in the fundamental freedom of Americans to make decisions about their own bodies and not have their government tell them what to do.
Oh, so was it my body, my choice when it came to the vax? I don't think it was. I'm just throwing it out there because I had no choice. Well, I did have a choice. I chose not to do a lot of things because I refused. But was it my body, my choice for the vax that we now know is inefficient, useless, and does nothing, but has tons and tons of side effects that was more harmful than not getting it? Double standards. The hypocrisy is real, folks.
I will fight to restore what Donald Trump and his hand-selected Supreme Court justices took away from the women of America.
First of all, you can't do that. That's a lie.
That today, 1 in 3 women in America, think about it, 1 in 3 women in America lives in a state with a Trump abortion ban.
That is the biggest lie. Lie. There is no such thing as a Trump abortion ban. What Trump did is take the law from the federal government and say, the federal government's not involved in this. the states can regulate what they want to do in each state. Does it mean some people don't like it? Yes. Yes, it does. But like Ronald Reagan says, you don't like what happens in your state, vote with your feet and move out. Or run for office and change the rules. That's the difference. There are a lot of things that I don't like that are here in New York, so I am going to move out eventually because I can't stand it. But doesn't mean I force people who think it's great to pay high taxes and have all these liberal programs and have unfettered abortions and everything else in New York. I don't like to pay that kind of money. So I'm going to move. Let New York be New York. I'll go to Tennessee or Florida or some other place. But this woman here wants to force things that maybe Alabama, Texas, the Carolinas, Utah, Wyoming, they don't like that. They don't like unfettered abortions. They don't think it's right. As a people, they choose as a state not to allow that. And as a people in that state voted not to allow that. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with it. It's people's choice. It's the people making the decisions. That would be no different, guys, than me disagreeing the way you parent your kid and forcing you to change the way you parent your kid. You would find that highly offensive. Highly offensive. But now we want Big Brother to tell the state what to do. And the state says, no, I don't want to do that. As a state, a majority in our state decides we don't want to do what the federal government is telling us to do. But you're going to do that. The state says, no, we don't want to do that. Again, she's lying to you. This is not how government works. You can't make up a law. Roe v. Wade wasn't a law. That's what people don't understand. It was a court trial that had the wrong outcome. They reviewed it and said, well, we made a mistake on that law. On the ruling, it wasn't a law. Roe v. Wade isn't a law. It was a ruling on a set of laws. So there is no law to change. There's no ban. With the fact that it is now a states' rights issue, there can't be a ban and there can't be a repeal. Because the federal government, because of the 10th Amendment, and I believe the 16th Amendment, they can't impose that rule on the state. It's a states' rights issue. The voters have a closer control of that vote. And they're going to name, so-and-so here and so there. Hey, if I want cheaper taxes, I got to go to another state. If I want to do something different, I don't understand what these people are. Why they talk all about anti-authoritarian government. Roe v. Wade, in essence, is an authoritarian law where it can tell states what they can or can't do. I don't understand why this is a problem. But it's a political thing. See, by repeal of Roe v. Wade, abortion becomes a moot point. It's like state income tax. See, the federal government can do nothing about state income tax because it's a states' rights issue. They can only control what happens in the federal. They talk about all these taxes. Well, I remember when George Bush repealed federal taxes by $27 per person. You know what happened? The state said, we'll put a $25 tax per person. So I never lost money. I never gained any money because the state took more of it. I had nothing to say because I lived in the state of New York. But nobody sees it that way. You guys got to open your eyes, know the rules, know the laws, know how government works. She's a liar. a total liar. And the media will never tell you that because they're complicit in those lies.
With no exceptions even for rape and incest.
Although I will say that she said that, I don't think any state, it should be allowed that a woman has to carry a baby if it's because of rape and incest. I also don't think that it should be allowed if the mother's health is at risk that she can't have. Truly at risk, not a fictitious full roar type of thing. Truly at risk that she can't have, abort the fetus or abort the baby. But that is something that can be changed within states. That is absolutely something that can be changed. I also don't think that past 6 months, sorry, no more abortions, period. You know, in most countries in Europe, it's illegal to have abortions after 6 months? Illegal. Illegal. In Tim Waltz, Minnesota, you can have same-day birth abortion. You think that should be right? Your baby is due tomorrow and you said, I don't want this kid. I'm going to have an abortion. That's right too. And this is what she wants? Extremism. You can't say unfettered abortion and you can't say no abortion. There's got to be something in the middle. And I think pulling it from the federal down to your local is where you're going to get the happy median because a vote is closer to the people. And I think that's what Donald Trump intended. But the Democrats don't want that, especially not in the National Democrats, because it now takes that argument off the table. They can't argue about it anymore. Think about it. For the last how many years has abortion been something on an election issue? Now it's no longer an election issue. It's a states' rights issue. They can argue it in the states. They can have rallies in the states. It's not a federal thing. Brilliant move by Donald Trump, by the way.
The idea that a woman who survives a crime of a violation to her body should not have the authority to make a decision about what happens to her body next, that is immoral. That is immoral. And Trump's not done. He would ban
Trump can do
abortion
nothing about
nationwide,
it. You're a liar.
restrict access to birth control and put IVF treatments at risk, and force states to monitor women's pregnancies. Just Google
5
Project
lies right there.
2025.
He's not a member of Project
read the plans
2025.
for
You're a
yourself.
liar. That's another liar. Jesus Christ, she's a
And look,
fucking
I
lying
think we
fool.
all know one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to simply agree the government should not be telling her what to do with her body.
You're right. The government shouldn't be telling her what to do with her body. But on the flip side, terminating a life shouldn't necessarily be her right by herself because there's another life there. It's not a simple black and white issue. The problem is, okay, I'll put it this way. For all of you ladies or men that think the abortion issue is black and white. I know I'm going to go to hell for this and I'm going to get beaten up and everything else. And that's okay. I got broad shoulders. We can talk about it. But maybe you can help me understand it. Why is it that a woman wants the right to terminate a pregnancy? Okay? And that's okay. They want that right. Because a baby conception doesn't happen until whenever each individual decides. It seems like there's no set thing. But let's say 6 months, right? 6 months is the cutoff. So any time between 6 months, a woman can choose to have an abortion for whatever reason, which is what seems to be they want. Okay? So then if that is the case, that the baby is not a baby until 6 months, because that's when they've deemed after that you can no longer have an abortion, hypothetically speaking. So does that mean if something catastrophic happens to the mother and she perishes, it also means it's not a double homicide, correct? Because if it's not a life in the womb, because you can terminate it because you want to, then if something happens to you through malicious means, it shouldn't also be a double homicide, because help me understand, because this is a double-edged sword. The people on this issue they want to be able to terminate it anytime they want. But if they decide they want to keep it, wow, then that's a double homicide. You can't have it both ways. And if you do, then you're not being truthful and you're being a hypocrite. I don't know. That's just my take on it. I know it's a very contentious topic, and I'm sure I'm going to get beaten up over it. But, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't think it's right. I do think there should be limits on it. It's not a reproductive rights issue at all. I don't think it is. But let's move on, because it's as far as a federal election issue, I think it's a loser issue. I don't think anybody can win on that. I think it's something that's best handled in the states, and people can decide what they do with that in the state level.
Not the government. And when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom nationwide, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law.
It's not how it works, but okay.
And look, on another subject, politicians have got to stop treating immigration as an issue to scare up votes in an election, and instead treat it as the serious challenge that it is, that we must finally come together to solve. I will work with Democrats and Republicans to sign into law the border security bill that Donald Trump killed.
He killed it because it was full of pork. It gave money to the Ukraine. It gave money to Israel. It gave money for housing illegal migrants. It shored up New York City's budgets and all these other pet projects that senators had. There was a reason why it was killed. You're a liar yet again.
When I was Attorney General of a border state, I saw the chaos and violence caused by transnational criminal organizations that I took on. And when I am president, we will quickly remove those who arrive here unlawfully, prosecute the cartels, and give Border Patrol the support they so desperately need. At the same time, we must acknowledge we are a nation of immigrants. And I will work with Congress to pass immigration reform, including an earned path to citizenship for hardworking immigrants like farm workers and our dreamers.
Well, at least she told the truth there. That's her plan. I'll give her credit there.
As Commander-in-Chief, I will make sure America has the strongest, most lethal fighting force in the world.
To go after Americans,
Donald
I'm sure.
Trump, on the other hand, has shown his contempt for our nation's heroes, calls them suckers and losers.
Proven to be false yet again.
Called a 4-star Marine general a, quote, lowlife.
Yeah, Millie.
I will always honor, never denigrate, the service and...
So he called General Milley a low-life loser, a low-life, because, well, he got fired. And he got fired because he didn't listen to orders. Again, this was covered under the J.D. Vance interview with Jake Tapper that we did yesterday. He directly defied Donald Trump's orders on troop movements, which is why he got fired. And he got really upset about it. And I think Donald Trump called him a loser because he's bitching about his boss that fired him. What? The reason why she's never called anybody names that worked for her, because she never fires anybody. They're okay with bad work ethic. Yeah, tell me somebody should have been fired over the Afghanistan withdrawal. Somebody should have been fired over the border policies. Somebody should have been fired about half the crap that's been going on the last 4 years. No, they don't fire anybody. Nobody's held accountable. Look at the Secret Service failed. Trump almost got shot. Nobody got fired. Nobody got fired. This whole administration's a bunch of clowns, and they want to go after Trump because he wants results for the American people.
Sacrifice of our troops and their families, and fulfill our sacred obligation to care for them. I will strengthen, not surrender, America's global leadership.
You have surrendered. There's no leadership.
And I will stand with our friends, because I know that our alliances keep American people safe and make America stronger and more secure. Look, world leaders think that Donald Trump is an easy mark, easy to manipulate with flattery or favor.
If that was the case, why are all the tyrants across the world endorsing you, Mamala? Because you're the easier pawn to move around the chessboard. Putin came out and said he'd rather have he endorsed Kamala Harris. Kim Jong-un came out and endorsed Kamala Harris. Xi Jinping came out and endorsed Kamala Harris. Justin Trudeau came out and endorsed Kamala Harris because he knows that America will back off of all its trade policies that are favor American companies and not Canadian companies. I mean, ridiculous.
And you can believe that autocrats like Putin and Kim Jong-un are rooting for him in this election. I will always uphold our security, advance our national interest, and ensure that the United States of America remains, as we must forever be, a champion of liberty around the world. America, we know what Donald Trump has in mind. More chaos, more division, and policies that help those at the very top and hurt everyone else. I offer a different path, and I ask for your vote.
No, you can't have my vote.
And here is my pledge to you.
There we go.
I pledge to seek common ground and common sense solutions to make your life better. I am not looking to score political points. I am looking to make progress. I pledge to listen to experts, to those who will be impacted by the decisions I make, and to people who disagree with me. Unlike Donald Trump, I don't believe people who disagree with me are the enemy. He wants to put them in jail. I'll give them a seat at the table.
You're a liar. Absolute liar.
I pledge to you to approach my work with the joy and optimism that comes from making a difference in people's lives. And
So you notice how it's like the tale of two speeches here. She spent the first 15 minutes bashing Republicans, Donald Trump, and all their supporters. Now she's like, I want to bring you to the table, and I want us to sit down and get together. You just insulted me for the last 15 minutes. I want nothing to do with you, lady. You lied to my face. You told me it wasn't true, and now you want me to come and sit and break bread with you? Oh, my God.
I pledge to be a president for all Americans.
As the president's calling me a piece of garbage.
Always put country above party and self.
Yeah. If you put your party, your country above party and self, you would actually close the borders and stop the 10 million illegals that have come in the last 4 goddamn years. And you would have shot, you and your dumbass president would have shot down the Chinese weather balloons that were spying all across the United States, but you were bought and paid for by China.
I love our country with all my heart. And I believe in its promise because I've lived it. I grew up as a child of the civil rights movement. My parents would take me to marches in a stroller, where crowds of people of all races, faiths, and walks of life came together to fight for the ideals of freedom and opportunity.
And yet your party brings up racial divide every single chance they have, repealing all the gains that the Martin Luther Kings have done in the world. It's crazy.
I've lived the promise of America. I saw how hard our mother worked to give her daughters the same chances this country gave her. Growing up, I was blessed to have family by blood and family by love, who instilled in me the values of community, compassion, and faith that have always defined our nation at its best. I've lived the promise of America. I've spent my life fighting for the people who have been hurt and counted out, but never stopped believing that in our country, anything is possible.
Well, that I agree
I've
with.
lived the promise of America, and I see the promise of America in all of you. In all of you. I see it in the young people who are voting for the first time, who are determined to live free from gun violence and to protect our planet and to shape the world they inherit.
Gotta throw in that gun
I
violence.
see it in the women who refuse to accept a future without reproductive freedom.
There it is, see? Political ploy.
And the men who support them.
It's funny how she says, and the men who support them, when she just aired a commercial that was narrated by J-Lo that encourages women to lie to their husbands on who they voted for. Just saying. Again, talking out, fork-tongued politician talking out of both sides of her face.
I see it in Republicans who have never voted for a Democrat before,
Dick Cheney,
but
okay.
have put the Constitution of the United States over party. I've seen it in Americans different in many respects, but united in our pursuit of freedom, our belief in fairness and decency, and our faith in a better future. America, I know the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. I know it. And that's why I am in this race, to fight for the people just like I always have. Nearly 250 years ago, America was born when we wrested freedom from a petty tyrant. Across the generations, Americans have preserved that freedom, expanded it, and in so doing, proved to the world that a government of, by, and for the people is strong and can endure. And those who came before us, the patriots at Normandy and Selma, Seneca Falls and Stonewall, on farmlands and factory floors. They did not struggle, sacrifice, and lay down their lives only to see us cede our fundamental freedoms.
COVID-19, lock you in your house, take a vaccine you didn't want, or else you were losing your jobs. And as a matter of fact, the Democratic Party at one point wanted to take children away from parents if they didn't have their kids vaccinated. Yeah, that's the party there.
They didn't do that, only to see us submit to the will of another petty tyrant.
Again, another lie. Saying Donald Trump is a tyrant. Again, he had 4 years to show you he wasn't a tyrant.
These United States of America, we are not a vessel for the schemes of wannabe dictators. The United States of America is the greatest idea humanity ever devised. A nation big enough to encompass all our dreams, strong enough to withstand any fracture or fissure between us, and fearless enough to imagine a future of possibilities. So America, let us reach for that future. Let us fight for this beautiful country we love. And in 7 days,
vote for Donald Trump.
We have the power. Each of you has the power to turn the page and start writing the next chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told.
It's a Disney
I
commercial.
thank you all. God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
All right. Well, all I have to say is it sounds full of crap. You know, she really gave us no reason to vote for her, just reasons to vote against Donald Trump. But the one thing I have to say, guys, and this is something that she's been in office for 4 years. She was a senator before that for 2 years. What did she do? What did she do? Nothing. And if you look at the tie votes that she cast in the Senate as VP, they're the ones that caused all of the destruction that we have. She was the reason why interest rates are high. She's the reason why insurance are higher. She's the reason why gas went up so high. Remember, Donald Trump left. The Bidens came in. Biden and Harris came in. They canceled all of the oil production. That's why gasoline spiked. Because they cut all of the Trump energy policies out. And when they saw they were going to lose because gas was becoming unaffordable, energy was becoming unaffordable, they reinstated all of Trump's energy policies and the prices started coming back down. They came into office, Harris and Biden, and took and eliminated all of the executive orders and all the policies in regards to the border. The stay in Mexico, the limiting of the crossings, enforcement of the border wall, everything that Donald Trump had put in, they repealed it all. We have massive migration. In the last year, they started implementing everything back that Donald Trump had. Numbers are down. You can look all this stuff up, guys. Don't believe me. Look it up. Everything that has been going right in the last year is because the Democrat, under Harris and Biden, have re-implemented Trump's policies. It's out there. Again, 6 years ago, we were better off than we are today. My kids can't afford a house today. I could afford a... Listen, in 2017, I had a deli. We had $5 sandwiches, foot-long subs, $5. I think they even came with fries. I just got a sub the other day with no fries and no drink. It was $14. $14. You can get a burger in 2017. You can get a burger value meal at McDonald's for $6.99. That same one today is $11. These are the people. She's making it sound like she had nothing to do with it. She was in power, guys. She was in power. Under Donald Trump, we had no foreign wars escalated. Nothing new started. They did under her and Joe Biden. This is a referendum on the Harris-Biden presidency. That's all I got to say. Well, folks, that was my take on the Kamala Harris closing campaign speech. Obviously, you guys know I am not a Harris supporter. I support Donald Trump. I endorse the Two Guys and a Mic podcast, officially endorse Donald Trump for president. And please vote Republican down ballot. For me, I know people don't like it. I'm not a single issue voter. Are there things that I don't like about Donald Trump? There are a lot of things I don't like about Donald Trump. But my life, my family's life, and my children's life were better under Donald Trump. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So with that being said, I will bid you farewell. Whether you vote for Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, go out and exercise your civic duty and vote. Because I know that I have no problems being friends with Democrats. Democrats, on the other hand, have a problem being friends with others. At least that's been my expression, experience. I'm sorry. So with that said and done, till we meet again. We were great, we were free, had a country that couldn't be beat. We were right